and John Ryder. It looks like it's set for May 6th. And the catch here is that the fight will be going down in Mexico. That is being laid out there. It's either USA or Mexico, says Eddie Hearn. If the fight does take place in Mexico, it's going to be at a Canelo's going to take a pay cut because the gate there will be a lot cheaper. Like, you can't charge like maximum Vegas prices for a stadium fight in Guadalajara. Now, Canelo hasn't fought in Mexico since 2010. I like this fight. I don't mind it. John Ryder certainly has earned this. He is a mandatory. If you want Canelo to, his haters will say this guy doesn't defend belts. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. Well, he's fighting his mandatory he's the undisputed champ at 168, which a lot of people forget since he goes up to 175 a lot too. I like this fight. I don't mind it as long as it sets up bigger fights for Canelo in the future.
Yeah, no surprise here for us. We had a good idea that this was going to be the fight. We spoke about it many times on the show. Yeah, I like the fight too. I think it's a quality fight. I think John Ryder's a quality opponent. I'm happy for him that he gets the shot, but I'm surprised about the Mexico thing. I really expected it to be over in England. I thought that was a really nice caveat for Canelo's career to go over and fight there and get experience with the European fan base. But hey, I mean, it's Canelo. The guy's entitled to pretty much whatever he wants to do. And if he wants to fight at home, he hasn't done it in a long time, more power to him. I know what it's like to fight at home. I know how much it means. I know it makes it extra special. So taking a pay cut for it to do it, I as a fighter, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't fought there since 2010. I was also thinking England too, but if they're putting out these possibilities at anything other than Vegas, Canelo's obviously going to be like, all right, if that's the case, then let me have a homecoming fight. I mean, it's a fight that he's going to be a heavy favorite. There's got to be some wrinkle to this, and if it's the scene that it will make at that stadium, so be it. But Ryder coming off of that win over Zach Parker, obviously going to be a big underdog in this fight.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, like I said.
Deservedly so. But...
Right. I don't mind it if it leads to Benavidez Plant winner. Like, obviously, if Plant beats Benavidez, then he absolutely deserves another shot at Canelo, and it makes that fight a little different than if Plant just went into a rematch with Canelo without beating Benavidez. His stock would be high.
Do you mind if it goes to a Bivol rematch?
I don't want to see the Bivol rematch. I think
So,
we've
yes,
talked about this numerous times.
We're-
Especially at
we're
168.
in agreement.
Especially at
We're in
168, I don't want to see a Bivol rematch. I think that's what it's going to be. I think Canelo's...
I do too.
Right. I think Canelo's 2023 is Ryder in May, and then a Bivol rematch in September. And the only thing is, it's going to be at 168 or is it going to be at 175?
I actually think Canelo could lose to both those guys. I think he definitely loses to Bivol again. I just think
Even at
stylistically,
168?
even at 168, I don't think it's going to matter. But Benavidez, who I do believe could beat Canelo as well at this stage, and he's a stud. But I think if there's a time for Canelo to beat him, it's going to be now. Earlier the better. As he progresses and gets better and gets more comfortable and reaches his peak, because I don't know if Benavidez has gotten there yet. It's going to be a really, really tough fight. I think that Canelo can pull an old Felix Trinidad and get the young guy early to try and get that win and add to his legendary status and get ahead of that. If he were to go out and come and fight Benavidez, the guy that everyone's afraid of, and comes in and gets the win, I mean, that's a huge feather in the cap, especially because I think Benavidez is that good and he's going to do some big things in the future, even after a loss.
So let's just say Caleb Plant wins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there'll be much of an appetite for the rematch with Canelo, even though that's like
There won't.
he's got a lot of momentum. That could change things for Canelo's trajectory for the following year. If Plant beats Benavidez, I think some fans will be able to stomach the Canelo-Bivol rematch a little more. But if Benavidez wins and beats Plant in March, and Canelo obviously beats Ryder, that's the fight right there. That's the fight the fans want to see. That's the fight that makes sense. We'll see with Canelo because he has shown no inkling and that to want to fight Benavidez.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's even said on record, I don't want to fight Mexican fighters, whatever that means. But
I don't know what that
but
means either.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, no, that's you're right. That's the fight that when you said the fans want it, the public want it. That's the fight. That's what this show wants too. I think that's the fight to be made. And like I said, I don't see the Bivol fight, the rematch being different. But the Benavidez fight I see as a real firefight and a fight that I think it's a pick 'em fight.
Well, that would entail Canelo doing another deal with the PBC. His last couple fights now have been with Matchroom, and Matchroom has a new signing. Edgar Berlanga has signed with Matchroom, something that we predicted when we found out that he was going to be a free agent. Makes the most sense. The caveat in this deal, which has a lot of people giving their opinions and saying, wait a second, what? Multi-fight deal at Matchroom with the intention of Berlanga getting a fight with Canelo Alvarez.
Hey Dan, great segue by the way you brought in Matchroom and then you brought in Edgar.
I'm pretty good at this.
You're good at this. You're good at this. Yeah, this is this is the big drop that happened just a couple hours ago, really. And something that, like you said, we kind of figured this was the best route. It's going to be the most expensive route or the most wealthy route for Berlanga, and with that idea that Canelo is the gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
But who does Edgar fight on the way to
Good question.
that pot of gold? Who are the guys that Matchroom would be feeding him to build him up to the status where the public would be okay with making this fight? That's the real trust.
I agree with that. I mean, every fighter wants to fight Canelo. He's the cash cow. And Eddie Hearn had.
Dan, you want to fight Canelo? Like, why wouldn't
Canelo.
you? You're gonna go to Guadalajara, get the bag.
He can beat me up for one round, and I can get that 10 million. At least,
Shit.
right? Isn't that what Danny Jacobs got? You're part of that camp, right?
It's the numbers that you fight Canelo. Yeah, you're looking at big money,
dude. When I think Danny Jacobs got 12 million for the Canelo
Yeah.
fight. That was when DAZN and they were throwing around like bags.
Mm-hmm.
But Berlanga, obviously, we've talked about this at length. Like, his talent is not on par with his name, and he says I sell, and a fight with Canelo will be huge, but. Like, does he sell that much? Like, he never fought at the big room. Like, his fights were in the theater, and I was at a few of them, and people were leaving there going, oh, man, like, that was an underwhelming performance. Like, I don't see a Canelo fight materializing for this guy. I understand why he would sign with them, and Hearn has that in his back pocket. Like, hey, you can one day fight Canelo. Obviously, he's going to sign with him. I just think that it's a pie-in-the-sky type of thing. I would love to see it happen, because that would mean that Berlanga can get back onto his winning ways, but I don't know. If Canelo fights Berlanga in the next year, I'd be absolutely shocked.
Yeah, it's a stretch, and there's going to have to be some incredible matchmaking done in order to rebuild the momentum that Edgar Berlanga had prior to his last couple fights. The last couple fights, like you said, were very underwhelming. I called most of them. I was in those rooms. He's super talented. He's a great kid. I'm happy for him that he has this huge signing and this potential for these mega fights. But these next couple of fights, he's gonna have to elevate to a whole new level that we haven't seen yet, and the fans are gonna have to really believe it if that fight is ever to happen.
So, according to Boxing Scene in the rankings, Berlanga ranks number 4 with the WBO. He ranks number 6 with the IBF. And with the WBA, will return to the ring this summer. I'm trying to see, like, will he go that route? Will he go the mandatory route where he kind of forces his hand to fight Canelo? That what I want to see. I'm trying to see who's above him in the rankings.
Yeah, I was gonna say who's above him in those rankings.
Going to super middleweight right here. Super middleweight. Where we go here? Ryder, Plant. Let's see. Berlanga's 4. This is in the WBO. Dude, this is the thing with these rankings is I never heard of this guy in front of him. Bazignan, who's 29-0. He's sandwiched between Bazignan, Berlanga, and a guy by the name of Igadov, who doesn't even have a photo on this website. But Plant is number 2. Andrade is number 1. Andrade fight's not happening because he's just signed with PBC.
Right.
Plant fight. Obviously not happening because Plant's fighting Benavidez. Benavidez isn't with the WBC.
He probably fights one of those no-name, got no picture guys. He looks good there. Then say Ryder loses to Canelo.
Right.
Then he fights Ryder. Looks good against Ryder. Then you're like, oh well, I beat one of his past opponents.
That's what I think. He got to fight Ryder. If Ryder puts up a decent performance against Canelo, Berlanga Ryder. I think Berlanga actually even mentioned that when he said, like, this is what I want from this year. Like, obviously, his next fight in whatever this year for Berlanga is going to be some type of, I wouldn't say because that's disrespectful, but like someone to beat. And then Ryder, and then start banging the drum for Canelo.
Hey, that Ryder's a tough fight.
Definitely. I think he'd lose to Ryder.
That's a Ryder's
like, I would bet on Ryder in that fight.
Ryder, I think Ryder's a tough fight for Canelo.
You really think so?
I do. I think stylistically, I think his body type, he's got that shorter, stockier stance. Canelo's great against the tall guys. He's really good at fighting those longer guys. He's been making a career on it. The shorter guys, it's going to be a little harder to hit, smaller target, and Ryder's scrappy. He's a lot more technical than people give him credit for. He's physically strong. His nickname is the Gorilla. Like, there's a reason for that. He's an ugly, rough fighter on the inside. He gave Danny Jacobs hell on the inside because of that. So, I don't think he's an easy fight for anybody. It's just a tough style.
I wonder what the odds are. Hasn't been announced, but some of these sites put odds on there. But DraftKings doesn't have it up there yet. I would assume Ryder to be a plus 300 underdog in this fight. There's some value there.
That's pretty fair.
Also Canelo, we didn't mention when we talked about Canelo before, was that coming off the hand surgery. I don't like to make excuses for Canelo. There are as many as Canelo fans are out there. There are Canelo detractors. This guy gets special treatment. He gets to not defend his titles. He gets to move up to 175. Come on, Canelo Alvarez at this level, stage in his career. Why is he fighting a guy like John Ryder? Well, we just said because this is the mandatory, and coming off a hand surgery. And obviously, I'd rather see Canelo fight someone better than John Ryder. But like we said, if it leads to a bigger fight in the fall, which knowing Canelo, this guy's going to be in big fights at least once a year. So if it's Benavidez, if it's Bivol, if it's Plant, as long as it's not Berlanga. Because I don't think anyone wants to see that.
I actually think John Ryder's good. I think he's a good fighter. I know a lot of people don't know about him over here, but he gave Callum Smith absolute hell, and a lot of people think he won that fight. And I think that's something that can be a storyline after Canelo gets the win. It's like, well, Callum Smith is now campaigning at 175 and is potentially going to get that better be a fight. Yeah, there's a lot of storylines that John Ryder actually ties in. So I don't know. The fans might not like it. The public might not like it, but like we said, we like this fight.
I like to see if it's going to be on regular DAZN because
that'd be cool.
The Joshua fight not being on pay-per-view, their price change, bumping it up a little bit for subscription. I would like to see that from a fan consumer standpoint. Will Canelo Ryder be part of the regular DAZN subscription? That's going to be interesting to see.